So 1993 comes to the fore, and the process begins to intensify. And a whole campaign, but it was the Democrats really who pushed it. It was the Democrats, Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer, so sometimes called a progressive. So they begin to call for, let's say, the deportation of criminals, undocumented criminals. They begin to point out that it was very costly to incarcerate undocumented, that the federal government had to pay, and so forth. So the right wing, not to be outdone, sees the move and see how it's beginning to galvanize, so they move. So Pat Buchanan writes a piece and warns, and it's a red alert to the right, so they begin to move. So Pete Wilson comes to the scene in 1994, and you know, as he campaigns against immigrants, amongst other things, and there's a Proposition 187 gets introduced. And so we struggle against it, and we're able to have 2 mobilizations and a whole electoral campaign. We had the first demonstration was at 30,000 people on Broadway here downtown, and that was the largest Latino demonstration we had had up until then. From 1970, the great National Chicano Moratorium, a demonstration against the Vietnam War, when we had 30,000 people, and it was squashed, it was smashed by the state. So it was great. It was great to see. So from there we moved on to October 16, and we had 150,000 people. It was huge. It was big. And it was a response, it was the beginnings of setting more the pattern, the example, the model for the mass mobilizations that come to the fore in 2003, 2005, 2006 more so, and up to the present to some degree, although the movement is highly fractionalized, divided. So 1994 comes to the fore, and we struggle, we're not able, but we begin to build. Then we move on to 2003, and there is a move by the state to cancel the right of undocumented immigrants to have a license. Actually, it had been issued years before. Immigrants could not get a license. So in 2003, after 7-8 years of struggle, primarily headed by State Senator Gil Cedillo, and finally the bill gets signed. Greg Davis signs it, but that was one of the battle cries of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he is coming to the fore, and the recall of Governor Davis. So it was a victory. It was definitely a victory for them, and but at the same time, it creates a rage, and the people demonstrate, and we hold the first statewide Latino boycott with a participation of over 1 million people, meaning not going to work, meaning 30% of all students in the state of California did not go to school, boycotting, to defend themselves, to defend their parents, to defend their people. So that was 2003, then 2004, let me move on real fast to 2005, as Jake mentioned, the Minutemen. And those were the shock troops of the extreme right, and that's what set the pattern. That was like the shock troops that were used in order to create the sympathy nationally in order to pass H.R. 4437 in the House. That was the official criminalization of immigrants in this country. Really, what had been taking place in different states, it comes to the fore in December of 2005, and so the battle cry begins to come, come together within our communities. I mean, you could see in the struggle against the Minutemen, you could see, when you had the experience of 1986, like I had, 1984, 1971. You see the patterns, and you automatically see the responses, the aspirations, the movements of the people, that they want to fight back, and that they're at it. And one of very important characteristics that you see after, 60 years of, 70 years of being in the country, undocumented, remember since 1986, 2.5 million were left out, you easily see the aspiration of being documented, that struggle, that need of getting rid of that monkey on your back, even for your children, not being able to go to college because they're undocumented, and so forth and so on. So that comes to the fore in 2005, then 2006, and the big ones come. The big ones when we began to mobilize millions of people. And some of you may have read, some of you may have concluded that it was a spontaneous movement. It was not. It was organized. It was moved. It was mobilized. We moved the whole country. We galvanized the whole country. So several demonstrations take place at 100,000, 20,000, 300,000 in Chicago, and then Los Angeles comes in with 1.7 million people. 1.7 million digitally counted to become the largest demonstration, I think history says it, in the history of this country. The largest street demonstration. Yes, it was all Latinos, primarily Latinos, throughout the country. And then you galvanize the whole country, so on March 25, March 26, March 24, Denver comes in with 75,000, and on April 10th, Dallas, Washington, New York come in with 500,000, 300,000, and many others. And then we move on to May 1st. And that was, we put May 1st back in the map, the historical map, okay? That began in 1886. So this is 2006, and we organize, we convene on the steps, and during the program of that big march on March 25, 2006, we make the call for the national boycott against HR 4437, and also the call for empowerment, meaning legalization. We make the call, we work it for 5 weeks, and on May 1st we are able to in the city of Los Angeles we stop about 20 different industries, including the closing of the ports. 20,000 truck drivers adhere to the boycott, as well as people in construction, all the restaurants, the hotels, the stores, the small businesses, the garment industry. So let me say that it was fantastic. It was almost like a dream. There was almost 4 million people in Los Angeles alone participated in this demonstration. Meaning that we had 1.5 million people on the streets. There were two demonstrations, and I'll get to why there were two demonstrations right now. So there were two demonstrations of over 1 million people, both of them, and there were about 3 more million people that didn't go to work, that demonstrated on that day. So obviously HR 4437 went down immediately.